Hey, everybody, welcome to Away Games, the Chicago Cubs podcast. My name is Kevin McCaffrey, and I'm here with the silkiest jump shot in Madison Square Garden this week. And I think you can make a case that that's actually true. It's Adam Mamawala, $500 richer. What's up, Adam?
How's it going? I am officially 2 for 3 on field goals at Madison Square Garden, which, given that it's probably the only time I will ever have a chance to shoot on that court,
Yeah,
I can live with that.
absolutely. That's peak Ewing. That's peak Ewing
Yeah.
efficiency inside.
Actually, peak Ewing would have been me missing the layup.
Yeah, that's true. I'm saying this. We're going to talk Cubs. It's been 2 weeks since we've been in here. There is some actual Cub news to update, and baseball news is heating up a lot right now. Follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter, Instagram, all the things. But Adam, tell the people what I'm talking about right now when I talk about you making shots at Madison Square Garden.
Not to be confused with Addison Square Garden. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I went to the Knicks-Pacers game last night. It's the first game I've been to since I went to a Bulls-Nets game at the Barclays Center on like March 8th of 2020, which can only be described as a real risk on my part.
Right.
But a friend of mine had tickets, so we went to the game. And evidently the like hype crew or whatever will just kind of come up to random people and ask if they want to take part in the skills challenge, which of course I did. And they like take your information. They're like, all right, we'll let you know if you actually get to do it. And then I got a text like before the first half ended that was like, you're in, like, we'll come to your seats and get you. So we get taken down at halftime. I was with my friend Gavin, who you've met before, and we get taken into like the bowels of Madison Square Garden, which was cool. It was his first time at the Garden, so all of a sudden he's like underground. The dude from Shang-Chi walks right past us.
Oh, damn. Oh, that's perfect.
I don't know how to pronounce his name, like Simu Liu, I think it is.
Yeah,
he's hosting SNL this week.
Yeah, and I saw a TikTok video from him. He seems fun, actually. Seems like I haven't.
He
seen
seems
the
like
movie.
a great dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not seen the movie, but I'm actually a big fan of Kim's Convenience, which is a big Canadian show that he was on.
Oh, nice! What a deep cut. Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know that one, but yeah, I neither of us obviously we grew up. We are Bulls fans, so it's like I grew up. I'm slightly older than Adam, which I think gives me an even deeper hatred of the Knicks because it was like the early '90s Knicks were very formative for me. But if you're gonna be somewhere to just like wander by celebrities, the Knicks games are number one. You know.
Yeah, and also, I mean, more of my basketball memories are like the second half of the Jordan years,
Right.
but the Knicks were very hateable, but at the same time, they only beat the Bulls in 1994, so it's like at least the Bulls got them every time, like as much as they were a hateable team. Like I feel like I possibly hate the Pacers as much as the Knicks based on Reggie in the 90s.
I think they sort of for that second three-peat, the Pacers kind of usurped the Knicks as like the big challenger because like '93 the Knicks were like a massive. It was very '92 and '93 were both very intense series. But anyway, so you're walking through the bowels of Madison Square Garden. You're being taken to the court for what purpose?
So it was a skills challenge, much like the skills challenge during the All-Star weekend that the NBA players walk through because they're too cool to run, where you have to kind of like run around 4 cones. You have to pass a ball through a little net. Then you shoot a layup. You take that same ball, you run to the other side of the court, and you are supposed to hit an NBA 3, which if you've never tried to do that is very far.
Yeah.
Like an NBA 3 from the top of the key, you have to really put something into it.
You got to get your legs into it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not nothing. And I mean, like NBA players, I mean, shooting 1 of 3 from there is not bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my only goal, I was told going into it, like you can win $500. Even if you lose, you'll get $250. So already I'm like, this is amazing. I get to be on the floor at Madison Square Garden. And probably other than the United Center, I can't think of a court that I would rather be standing on.
Absolutely,
MSG.
yeah.
Like thinking about all of the iconic moments that took place on that floor, whether it's Jordan's double nickel after he came back in the 45 jersey, and just, I mean, so much has happened on that floor. So I got let out onto the floor, and where I started was directly next to the Knicks bench. And so the girl who leads me out is like giving me directions and making sure I understand it. And I am standing 5 feet from Derrick Rose, and I just like fully black out. Like I didn't hear a word she said. I was just like, oh my god, that like
How
Rose.
perfect,
Yeah, Rose is someone who, other than the Jordan era Bulls, I can't think of a player who's been like more meaningful to me.
It's arguably, arguably for me, that Bulls team is, you could say, and it's as tough as a Cubs fan with so many teams that did not win the World Series, which is pretty much all of them, right? Historically, it's hard for me to have more love for a non-championship winning team than I had for the Rose Noah Deng Bulls, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So to be standing there, to see Tibbs right there, Rose is there, Gibson is there. And again, I was like not listening to anything she was saying, but I felt like I understood what I was supposed to do. So they count down, she gives me the ball, I run around the cones, I make the pass on the first attempt, hit the layup on the first attempt, and now I'm running down. I'm already in the lead. And my only goal with the three was I don't want to airball it. I was like, I would rather brick it than...
You'd rather lose and look like, at least look competent out there.
Right.
Then, I gotcha.
So the first shot I put up, I overshot it a bit. I ended up hitting the backboard and hitting it off the rim. The other guy comes down, he misses a shot. And second one I put up was clean. I hit him with the LeBron celebration.
Yeah, we should put the video up on the away games.
Yes,
Twitter
absolutely.
And Instagram too. At away games.
I will definitely do that.
There is video evidence.
Maybe retweeted it yesterday, but I'll put it up on the Instagram. And other than that, I got to stand next to the dude from Shang-Chi. I got to stand next to Liev Schreiber. That was pretty cool. He was like coming in when I was like waiting to go on the court.
Great actor, voice of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in person, it's unclear to me if he is ugly or really hot.
Which I think ultimately world-wise makes you actively hot. When people are a little confused, you know?
Yeah, there's a mysteriousness. It's like, does he look like a rat or is he beautiful?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Adam Driver's doing this thing, right? Yep. A lot of people find Adam Driver very sexy, but it's like, you just look at him and it's like, okay, something's up here. I don't know, this is not normal, whatever it is. But that's awesome. So then they announce, hey, this is our winner. They put you up on the Jumbotron.
Put me on the Jumbotron, and then they like, shoo us off court, and this woman writes me a check, and this was my favorite part, was she goes, wait 24 hours to cash it. I'm like, it's literally from, it says like, MSG LLC. Right. I'm like, what is, James Dolan's got me on layaway? What are we doing
Absolutely. Here? That's the most James Dolan shit. Absolutely. I've also weirdly cashed James Dolan checks because I worked as a writer at the Fuse Network, which was owned
Those must have been some tiny checks.
Some tiny checks. They made it like, right. It's like when you win a golf tournament, they have the comically large check to show you. It's like, this is the opposite of that. It's like, this is a stamp, actually. But that's amazing. What a great life sports moment. You have this video forever, which rules.
Yeah. No, and I feel like the phrase once in a lifetime experience is overused, but I will genuinely be talking about this in 50 years.
Got to. Great bar story, great party story, and especially since you can just like have it on your phone and be like, check it.
Right.
I
have a new entry for 2 truths and a lie.
There you go. Absolutely. That's a good one. I the closest I got to that was myself and my friend Carl, who's a great basketball player. We grew up playing basketball together. This guy was like dunking in 8th grade and stuff, but I was a very good shooter. And they came up to us at a Bulls game, and the person like paused, looked at both of us, and then asked Carl to come up. But it was only a free throw shooting contest, and he made one, missed one. And he won like a signed Steve Kerr ball, I think, and
nice.
and a check. But I was so furious. I was like 15 at the time. I'm like, I literally am. I am the team's best free throw shooter, and I can't. If it was a dunk contest, put Carl in it, absolutely. But this was my skill. So yeah, I got close.
Was this at the old Chicago Stadium or United Center?
United Center. This is United Center at that point. But,
and it's also like, I mean, it's literally every kid's dream. Like when I didn't get to go to many NBA games as a kid because we didn't have money. But when you're at a game as a kid in a jersey, there's this part of you that they're like, maybe they'll like be shorthanded.
Oh, absolutely. You see the intro start, the Alan Parsons Project starts playing. You're like, get me out of this. Give me,
my dream was to be the first Indian basketball player, and it didn't work out. But I've got this.
Do you know who the first Indian basketball player was? Has there been one?
There was a guy on the Kings, really big dude.
Okay.
I don't know if he's Indian or Pakistani. He wasn't a very good player, but he
Right.
was like just a gigantic human. And I
All
know
right.
he played a few games like in and out of the G League. But we the Indian or half Indian community are waiting. We're waiting for our Jeremy Singh, if you will.
Uh, absolutely. Beautiful. Well, I'm glad you got the moment. It's amazing. Go to at Away Games Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, if you want to see Adam hit that shot, win that money, get up on the Jumbotron. And now we're going to talk some Cubs stuff. The Cubs, the biggest thing, we're going like every other week, unless there's major news now through the off season with this podcast, when usually we go every week. The only player news with the Cubs specifically is last week, they got Wade Miley off of waivers. And give you a quick rundown of Wade Miley if you're not super familiar. He's with the Reds last year. 6 wins above replacement last year. Huge year. 3.37 ERA in a hitter's park. He is a 35-year-old lefty. It's going to be $10 million for 1 year. And I mean, he was good last year. He's been good several times. He's a one-time All-Star many years ago. But how did the Wade Miley signing make you feel, Adam?
I think it's the exact kind of signing that makes a ton of sense for a team that's where the Cubs are, which is that, like, I think we all hope that they at least try to compete. You've stated, and I completely agree, that for the Cubs to not sign a top tier starting pitcher and one of the top shortstop players available, like, is malpractice, I believe is the way you've put it.
Yeah.
But I think Miley is a perfect stopgap sort of guy to pick up for a year. And also he's like, if it works out and the Cubs are actually competing, great. You're not spending a lot of money on him. And if they're not competing and he's pitching reasonably well, you flip him at the deadline.
Yeah, I think this is I don't want the Cubs to just do the short-term money thing, which is kind of what they did last year, where they cutting Schwarber to sign Jock for 1 year and doing a lot of like short-term stuff like this. Trevor Williams, there was like a lot of these sort of smaller 1 year bets, which the Giants also did. The Giants were just way better at it. The Giants just chose right, spent on the right people in a way that the Cubs did not. So I don't want this to be the overall philosophy going forward. But one thing that I am a big fan of here is when the Cubs have as much money as they do to spend, because the payroll is about 80 million. Adding Wade Miley takes you to about 90. You figure luxury tax threshold is going to be about 210. To me, there's never a year where 210 should always be in play. Like, I understand not going above that and not taking the draft penalties and stuff like that. But if you're the Cubs, you should be willing to 1 year deal your ass all the way up to the border, because as you said, if you can flip those guys, and if it's not tying you down beyond 1 year, this should be the advantage of being a major market team. And the Cubs, in the time of the Ricketts, they've averaged about the 10th highest payroll, and all the rumors about how they're going to act this offseason is what you would expect from like a 10th biggest market team, basically. And that's unacceptable, because that's not what this team is. So I was very encouraged by the fact that they spent 10 million on this guy to lock up one. I mean, they need to basically lock up minimum 2, maybe 3 rotation spots. And this is one where it's just like one and done. 10 million for 1 year. Who gives a shit? They're not gonna spend 120 million on free agents, which is what it would take to get you up to the luxury tax threshold now. Although I think they should be open to it. But yeah, I think you don't want him as what would now be your number 2 starter. But I think it's a good thing, and maybe, fingers crossed, like a good sign that they plan to spend more.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that if all we get this offseason is a bunch of short-term deals, like 1 or 2 year deals, then the Cubs are not doing what they should, because you're not going to get a top-tier shortstop for a 1 or 2 year deal. Right. But I don't hate it from the perspective of, maybe you sign the majority of the signings that you make are short-term deals. And if they work out, then maybe everything comes together and you have a run into the playoffs. But if they don't, and you do decide to sell at the deadline again, for the love of God, get some impact players who are not 17.
Yeah.
Because then you can at least flip people for players who can make an impact in the immediate future, and then kind of piece together the players that will be coming up, the Brennan Davises of the world, and some other prospects with people who can actually help you now.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. And looking at the Cubs, at the batch of prospects the Cubs have, and some of the Cubs prospect writers, your Greg Huss, Todd Johnson, Brian Smith, these guys have started releasing some prospect rankings, their own prospect rankings, and you basically see Brennan Davis at the top, then a huge variety of different rankings the rest of the way down to 20, and that's both good and bad because there's good cases to be made for a lot of these guys and their future potential. But like you say, they are so far away from the major leagues right now. A lot of those guys are going to be packaged in deals, you would think, to get real major league players going forward. And looking at the free agent class next year and the year after that, this is the best free agent class we're seeing for a long time. It's nothing. You could take the top 8 guys off this free agent class. It would still be better than next year's free agent class. So when you have the money to spend, play good and great players only become available so often. They're here now. The Cubs should be hopefully contending next year, but abso-fucking-lutely contending the next year. And that's why I think it's imperative that you sign. You need to get a starting pitcher and a shortstop that take you all the way through your next contention window right now. I think that, and then you can piece together shorter term deals around that. But
right, it's a little discouraging though when you look at a lot of the top 50 free agent lists floating around. The predictions don't seem to be heavily Cubs at all, other than maybe like you say Kikuchi. I don't know that I've seen any player like consistently
I say Kakachi
predicted. Yeah. Exactly. I don't think there have been a lot of players that many people are predicting sign with the Cubs. Now that also might be that when media people make these lists, they are selecting the team most likely to get a player that, it doesn't
but also
mean anything, but still.
No, but I think the one thing is Jed and company could be sort of under the radar here a little bit in a way, which wouldn't be bad if they surprise and sign people. That's fine. But the other thing is these reporters talk to people in the game and they get, not necessarily every list of predictions you're going to see has insider info, but some of them do. And if no one's feeling like the Cubs are spending when they're the Chicago Cubs, based in Chicago with the highest ticket prices and all the money to spend, that is embarrassing. Like you should, I can't imagine the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox being in the same situation where no one's thinking, oh, they have all the money, they're not going to sign anyone in the best free agent class in years. So hopefully that's just staying under the radar a little bit. And there have been some rumors lately tying the Cubs to Corey Seager specifically over the last week or two. We've seen some reports pop up there. And I mean, I'm not counting on it, but it makes me happy to think that they're considering anything, that they're doing the research on this, because I think that, that is exactly the level of player and shortstop specifically that they should be going in on long term right now.
Maybe get both Seagers. What the hell? Let them play together.
Both Seagers would be beautiful. I mean, Kyle Seager hit a ton of homers for Seattle last year. That would be, and he would be a guy. He's older. You're getting him on a short-term deal, so you could sort of do one of each here. If you get the Seager brothers, you get 2 left-handed hitters. You get a powerful third baseman who could also DH. You move Wisdom around and whatever, and then you have Corey locked up for throughout his prime, you would think.
Because at the moment, who's our starting third baseman? Some combination of Wisdom, Bodie, who's not even going to be ready for the start of the season, which is it's stupid.
It's
and
very stupid. He just had shoulder
surgery.
surgery. Yeah.
No,
it's got to be. I mean, right now, Patrick Wisdom is your starting third baseman for the Cubs next year. Like that's what it is right now. And and Wisdom, a little news there. Wisdom finished 4th in the Rookie of the Year vote. Congrats, Pat Wiz. And Schwindel finished 6th. So,
I mean, for a guy who got called up when he did, that's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, exactly. It is funny because usually in most years, if your team had the guys who finished 4th and 6th in the Rookie of the Year vote, you'd be like, "Oh man, we're on the upswing. Look out, bitches!" But it's like these guys are 30s basically, But still good for them. Um, yeah. So I'll tell you, there in terms of general baseball news, there have been some signings. So Eduardo Rodriguez signed with the Tigers, 5 years for $77 million with an opt out after 2, which I thought was interesting. And I think
the Tigers are going to spend some money this offseason.
Everyone is saying Correa is just going there.
Yeah.
Like every prediction you see, it says basically Correa to the Tigers, and the Tigers are sort of doing it in a way where it's like Tigers aren't good right now, and they're not 2 good players away from being good, but they know you got to get good soon. So you got, and the players are there right now. So that's, I mean, Rodriguez 5 years for 77 is not much for a guy who has some real ability and is young. Opt out after 2. I wonder if that's going to be a Carlos Rodon kind of contract that he's going to be looking at, is something like that, where a guy who can be dominant when he's great, but also like questionable health. That's an interesting deal. Jose Berrios signed an extension with the Blue Jays, 7 years, $130 million.
Sheesh.
And I think that's probably what you're going to look at.
Javi's brother-in-law, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, that's right. That's who was the other? There was another brother-in-law connection. It was it Machado and Yonder Alonso? Is that what?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, Javi's bro-in-law, 7 for 130, which I think is probably, now looking at the comp, that's probably about what you're looking for. Like Stroman is somewhere in that, because they're pretty comparable pitchers,
right?
And Noah Syndergaard looks like going to the Angels is the latest.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So it's weird because like this, some stuff starting to happen before the CBA here is interesting, because the collective bargaining agreement negotiations are going to shut down baseball pretty soon, December 1st, most likely. And but some people are getting in on signing before that, which is kind of fun.
It is good. And I think that it's encouraging that it doesn't sound like there's a big chance of a lockout, just based on floating
not a
around.
long one, not one that takes games away, at least.
Right. And I think maybe it was last week on the compound, they had Trevor Pluth on, and he was saying that around baseball, people think it's like maybe a 20% shot that there's some sort of work stoppage, but that the sides are much closer than they probably were a year ago at this time, and also there's too much money to be made to let that happen.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear Plouffe say that, because he's a guy I know. He works out in like radio and maybe podcasting.
He works for John Boy.
Oh, for John Boy now. And he and he's obviously a player, so he has player connections. That's interesting, because that sounds a little more optimistic than I feel like a lot of the journalist stuff I've heard. It seems like everyone pretty much agrees there's not going to be any games missed, but and that they definitely are like a lot closer than they were a year ago, but that there will be some sort of stoppage.
But I mean, how does that affect free agency? Does everything have to just stop, or can
I think so? Yeah,
they can't negotiate with players during that.
Right. And then also you don't know what the rules are to negotiate around at that point, which, I mean, even the guys signing now don't know the rules going forward, but draft pick compensation can change in terms of like what the qualifying offer attachments are, that kind of thing. Just knowing, does the National League have a DH next year, that kind of stuff, like that's going to affect the market, especially for your Schwarbers, your Castellanoses, and guys like that. It
sounds like they're finally going to address the asinine blackout issues.
Really? That would be good.
It would be good.
Maybe someone in Iowa could see a baseball game.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's good that there is some little bit of actual baseball news happening sort of as we speak, which is fun.
Yeah.
Has anything caught your eye, Cubs wise, over the last couple weeks, news wise?
Not really. I've seen a few rumblings about if there would be a way for the Cubs to possibly trade Jason Hayward and get that money off the books, but I feel like that's a tall order.
I wonder what just like the man himself. Because apparently the Cubs did talk to the Padres about a deal that would be Rizzo for Hosmer, and the Padres would attach a prospect like last year at the deadline. So it would be the Cubs taking on the bad Hosmer money, which was one at the time an insane contract. Like I thought at the time, I remember being in, even when the Cubs signed Hayward, being like, oh, okay, I guess this is just where contracts are going. But the Hosmer contract, I was like, what the fuck is happening over here? It was like eight for 144 or something. Like when he was coming off not a very good year, it was
I believe as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, Alex Rodriguez said that if there were one player he could build a team around in all of baseball, it would be Eric Hosmer.
He absolutely, literally did say that. And he is still allowed on TV. Yeah. I'll say this is a fun thing in the Arizona Fall League. The Cubs had a couple prospects there. Caleb Killian started the All-Star game they had.
He sounds like one of your people, Kevin McCaffrey.
Caleb Killian, yeah, Caleb Killian's Irish Red, perhaps, which was my high school's like go-to keg beer, which is like beyond the fact that it's like a fancy for a keg beer, which makes a lot of sense for Hinsdale, Illinois, in which I was the poorest person I knew. It is just also like a bizarre keg choice. But yeah, Caleb Killian sounds like an Irish boy to me. And he's been working on some things. He's like an extreme control guy, but he can hit mid-90s. So like I think it throws a lot of fastballs. You sort of dream on like a Lance Lynnish profile maybe, but he's one of the guys that came over. Him and Canario came over in the trade for Chris Bryant. And more exciting, there's a guy named Nelson Velazquez who basically was close to the Triple Crown in the Arizona Fall League. I can't remember if he finished it off, but he hit 9 homers in a month. Was just absolutely murdering the ball. He's hit, I think that put him close to 30 homers on the year, including time in the minors too. And this is a guy who might be added to the 40-man roster soon. It seems like now he certainly will be. And our friend Brian Smith put up a little stat line split, and he was like, he said something like, I'm not saying anything, and it was very close to Randy Arozarena's numbers, like pre-breakout, like a lot of right-handed power. He runs pretty well. He can play center field in a pinch, a good arm, and he doesn't walk a ton, but he, and has a relatively high strikeout rate. But it seems like the power is really legit. So that could be a potentially exciting new guy who not closer to the Brendan Davis profile in terms of upside, you wouldn't think, but like in terms of we could see him in the majors next year.
If I'm setting the, let's say 4th of July, over under 4th of July to see Brendan Davis in the big leagues.
That's a great over under question. And God, I think it's just about right. And so I think that's right where you would set it. I'll say under. I'll say we'll see him quicker than that because Brennan has accelerated beyond everyone's expectation at every level so far. And the spots are there, right? As of now, it sort of depends on how the free agent class goes. Because I think like if the Cubs do what they should do, there's a very good chance that Brennan comes up much later in the year and sort of gets the cup of coffee towards the end. And then you're thinking of as regular for the one after that. But I think that's a great over under for when we can probably expect to see Brennan.
Cup of coffee is a funny phrase for Brendan Davis because he strikes me as the kind of guy who like wouldn't drink coffee because he wants to do it himself.
He wants to stay pure. It's almost like a Mormon belief system, but not a Mormon, where it's just like, no, I will overcome this calmly on my own. But we'll probably see him at some point here.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this question. Yeah. So last night, as we talked about, I got to be on the floor at Madison Square Garden. There was a dribbling component to the skills challenge that I did, during which I had to handle the ball. And if you needed to handle your balls, what would you do?
Well, gosh, first of all, you got to look around, make sure you're not in public. Secondly, I guess I would check out manscaped.com and go. I would, if I wanted to make sure the balls were properly presented, you got to save some money while you're doing it by entering the promo code AWAYGAMES at manscaped.com. And you can get 20% off all your man grooming needs, all your manscaping needs. And save that money so you have somewhere special to take those new fancy balls.
Exactly. Ball handling is crucial.
It is. That's it. Yeah, as Adam just pointed out, and go check the video. Adam
Yeah,
Wade
my opponent like dribbled the ball off his foot or something, which is that's possibly even more embarrassing than airballing a three.
Yeah, because then you got to chase it down.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'd want to ask for a new ball. I just feel like someone feed me.
You have any other baseball-y stuff?
Nope, that's it. No, I mean, nothing we have to like talk about. Basically, Daniel Moskos is the new assistant pitching coach.
The pissing coach.
The pissing coach. That's a Moises.
Oh, that's Moises Alou. Yep.
Yes, there we go. We got it. The most famous peer in Cubs history. But Daniel Moskos was he was a number 4 overall pick. Only pitched 1 year in the majors as a reliever and was very good. So I sort of don't know why he only got the 1 year. But he's
Moskos, is that how you say his name?
I believe so. And he worked with Driveline as well, which is a very forward-thinking pitching group that the Cubs haven't really poached much from. So I think that's a good thing. And a guy with a great baseball name, Johnny Washington, is hired as the assistant hitting coach. So there we go. That is literally, I think, all the Cubs news that is fit to even speak aloud at this point.
Well, hopefully there will be more soon, and we'll be back in a couple weeks, and we're going to try to line up some interviews as well, and we'll see how it goes.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening, everybody, and Adam, thanks for leaving the life of the athlete behind for an hour here to come talk about instead of play the sports.
You know, the older I get, the more I have to abandon the dreams that I had as a child, and it felt good to be like in the realm of what was once a dream for me.
100%. That's awesome. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go live your dreams. Go get on a court.